in Mexico City. It's your first time here? That ain't no problem. So it's Sunday. Absolutely everything in Mexico City is closed. There's not much to do. Even the puestecitos with the tacos that I used to distract myself are closed. So I thought it's a great time to take a walk and tell you 5 or so culture shocks that I've experienced while being in Mexico City. My first time being here was in 2019. It is now 2021, so not a lot has changed. And it's actually the only place in Mexico that I've ever visited. So it's the only thing that I know. So let's go. So this is Parque Espana. It's really close to Parque Mexico. And there's always a lot of stuff happening out here, like group activities. I saw baby yoga out here once. It's very green and it's got this cool statue in the middle. Let me get closer. So this is it, and it's got a little thing of Lázaro Cárdenas in the middle because, you know, history. Elections are on June 6th and this guy has been every fucking where. I have to give props to his team for, like, I guess devotedness, because literally there is not a fucking post in this entire city that does not say Armando Rios Peter. So the first thing I want to talk about is Chilango PDA, because I've never seen 2 people suck face in public like a couple of chilangos. They will just go at it in their completely, like, in their own world, not giving a fuck about if other people see, which they shouldn't. I personally have nothing against PDA. It's just that you would never see anything like that in the United States. I think people are embarrassed in the United States to show that kind of affection in public. I've gotten used to it now. You know, after being here again for weeks, you kind of just get accustomed to it. But the first couple times I was like, damn, y'all really don't give a fuck. Now, another thing I've had to get used to again since being here is just the prevalence of the informal labor market. And what I mean by that is that people do not have formal jobs where they get paid every couple of weeks, but rather, you know, people walking around selling candy, especially passing by restaurants where people are eating outside, cutting fruit. There are people that, you know, when you're at a stoplight, they'll come up with a bottle of soapy water and wash your windshield just for, like, tips.
Oh my god! What is that? What is that?
Also the viene, which are people that direct the parking because they go viene, yeah, stuff like that. And it's not like I'm coming here and having the realization like, oh, not everyone has the same type of jobs as in the United States. It's just that in the United States, a lot of those jobs would require permits. And, you know, I'm sure you've seen tons of videos online about, I don't know, informal business, especially by immigrants or people of color being shut down by police. And that's just how it is. It's very, very normal to need a permit for a lot of those type of things. Having an informal business, I guess it's just not as doable in the United States. If you're gonna have a job, if you're gonna have a business, it needs to have like some sort of fixed quality or an address at least. You know, in this park especially, there's a lot of stands with people selling ice cream, with people selling fruit like mango with chamoy on it, with people selling juice, and that's very normal for people to want to make a buck in that way. And something that goes hand in hand with the informal labor market in Mexico is I guess the prevalence and necessity of cash. I, you know, being from the United States, got very accustomed once again to pretty much always just using cards in places or having my subscriptions renew and things like that, to where I'm never actually having to go to an ATM, take out money, pay people with money, do the math to give change and stuff like that. But I would say most times in Mexico in total, not just in Mexico City, you're gonna have to pay in cash because a lot of places, they don't have card readers. A lot of, you know, informal sellers, they do not carry card readers. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, it's just how it is. I think in the last 3 weeks of being here, I've gone to the ATM more than I have in the US in the past year. All the time here I'm having to pay, you know, in coins, especially for public transport. But God, the part that I did not miss about it was doing the math. I hate doing math. I'm not a math person, so having to like add up how much I owe the person and should I use coins, should I use bills, oh no, I want to save my bill for later to pay for this thing. It does kind of make my head spin sometimes, and that's fine. It's just different. And like I was just saying about public transport, the reason, you know, one of the reasons I've been using cash so often is for public transport. And in my city in particular, in St. Augustine, we have terrible public transport. There's maybe a bus that comes every 3 hours or so public transport is not really a thing. I'm sure that if it was, I would be using cash a lot more. But that leads me to my next point, is that in Mexico City there are countless ways of public transport, and that's what makes it such a convenient place to visit and a convenient place to live in. I think off the top of my head I could name like at least 10 forms of transport here. We're talking like metro, metrobus, trolebus, tren ligero, microbus, taxis, Ubers, ecobici, despa. I'm not even gonna lie, in my city in St. Augustine, when I went to the dentist a couple months ago, I had to take an Uber because we have terrible public transport and I do not have a car. So it's very refreshing to come here and have it be so simple and to have it be so cheap, because I think, you know, if you want to get on the metro, it's 6 pesos, which is maybe like a little bit under 50 cents for a one-way. If you want to get on the trolebus, it's 4 pesos. If you want to do the ecobicis, if you have a subscription, I'm sure it's very, very cheap by the day. And I just realized that I don't stress myself out about getting around anymore, you know, as I would in the US. Because I remember, for example, when I visited my sister in San Francisco. San Francisco in general is one of the most expensive places that I've ever been. I think one-way train passage was $8. That's 160 pesos, which, you know, compared to if you get on the metro, 6 pesos, that's a gigantic difference. This right here is another culture shock, the fact that people just cross the street without, you know, looking ever. But anyways, before I start thinking of a million other things to talk about, I'm gonna end the video there. So thank you so much for watching. I know these culture shocks, they don't just relate to Mexico City. A lot of them can be applied to Mexico in general, but they might be a little bit different. They might vary between states. So if that's the case, if you live in another state of Mexico and want to give the scoop on Michoacán or Estado de Mexico, Jalisco, Tamaulipas, whatever, because I'm always trying to learn more, you know, there's always something to be learned. Someone recently called me on Twitter a Mexico boo. I'm not a fan of that, but it's fine. I'll leave my social media if you would like to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's Elysse on everything, and I will see you guys so soon. Bye.